Welcome back. It is the Buckmaster Show, and it's time for our CEO interview series on 1030 The Voice, trusted local news and talk. Our interview series is presented by Sun Corridor, Inc., a transformative economic development organization representing one of the most dynamic and growing major business centers in North America. Sun Corridor, Inc. is a CEO-driven regional alliance whose members aggressively champion mega regional issues that impact economic competitiveness and quality of life. The organization has helped to drive significant business investment into the Tucson and Southern Arizona region through primarily job creation that results in an economic impact of $24.8 billion, with 162 company locates and expansions supporting nearly 48,000 jobs. For more information, visit suncorridorinc.com. Joining me on our CEO interview series is a gentleman who is a big supporter of Sun Corridor, Dan Janes, the CEO of Madden Media. Dan has a very impressive background. He's a West Point graduate, former Army officer who led operations in Afghanistan and Iraq. He's built a successful big data and analytics startup company. He grew new technology offerings in a publicly traded company. And since moving to Tucson in 2012, I recall, right, Dan? He's actively sought to grow companies in Arizona as a board member of Desert Angels, which does so much here in town to help investments and launch new startup companies. Dan, thanks for being on the program.
Well, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
You know, the Madden Media has been around a long time, and the footprint is very impressive. These are local people who put out an outstanding product, and you really have been growing the company over the past 35 years. Give us a little bit about the footprint.
Yeah, well, the company is, like you said, over 35 years. Kevin and Jill started the company just as Tucson Guide, which most people in town know Madden Media as, and then grew it from Tucson Guide and helping restaurants connect with travelers and getting into the hotels, and created Valley Guide. And eventually we've continued to grow and expand as we've looked at partners in different destinations to build out visitor guides throughout the country. And today, when we look across the country, we're 100 people strong that are doing 95% of our work, helping support destinations throughout the rest of the country, really drive traffic and travelers to destinations. And
I looked at your website. You've got a lot of job openings, and Zach Yenzer, who his program from 10 to noon here on the program, he's a fine young host. He's always talking about keeping young talent, Dan, in Tucson. Well, this is a great opportunity for those that want or that have a communications background to stay in Tucson. These are good jobs.
Yeah, these are great jobs. And what I think is really important is it's not just communications and marketing. We have 40 graduates at the University of Arizona that have everything from website development, software engineering skills, to marketing degrees, to communications. I think we even have a couple of fine arts majors that are out there as well that all come together, and they know how to communicate and then apply that ability to communicate to new technology and channels across the marketing medium.
And the marketing business has changed so much. So much of the work you do is digital, correct, Dan?
Absolutely. It's about easily 2/3 of the work that we do is digital, because the world has fundamentally changed. And back in the day, you used to talk about a print publication or looking for a newspaper or looking for a magazine, and that was the center of the universe. And then the center of the universe became somebody's website, and then everything had to be hung off the website. But today, when you think about how travelers think about planning or how consumers operate in their journey and what they're looking for, they start with search, and they start looking for answers. And our goal is to invoke some of that curiosity and bring the answers, so they want to move from what they think they know to what they need to know about destinations across the country.
You have firsthand knowledge comparing Tucson to other communities, because you're working with other communities, looking at their tourism and perhaps their downtown development. How do we compare right now in Tucson?
Well, I'll tell you, the team at Visit Tucson and what Brent Gerard has led with his team to do has been nothing short of fantastic compared to other locations throughout the country. And I think he's seen like 13% growth. We've seen support of $2.3 billion of revenue coming in from visitors into Tucson, which is really important because it supports almost 26,000 jobs here in Tucson that Visit Tucson supports and that industry supports. When I think about how does Visit Tucson compare to other destinations, what his team's really figured out how to do that's made it and separated it from the rest has been the ability to not just be who we have been. And if you look back in the past, you might see, it's all about golfing or all about resorts. Now it's very much about, it's a foodie destination and it's a destination meant for a broader audience. Mm-hmm. And he's done a great job repositioning it for the active outdoor lifestyle, cyclists, biking, hiking, and whatnot that's there. So really impressive what they've done. And then took it the next level to work with the Chamber of Commerce and then work with Sun Corridor, because destinations that think about just visitation and just business growth and then just business attraction, they don't do as well as those that have that like collective model. And you'll even see Amber Smith talking about collective impact, about how they're all working together, because visitors are just lead generation for a community to get somebody to live there and work there. And if there's a good workforce, then there's going to be good businesses that want to come take advantage of that workforce.
Yeah, I think the term is collective impact, and I think it's very important you bring up Amber over at the Tucson Metro Chamber. She's really big on this collective impact, and I think there's something to that. You really have to have all the pieces in place to be a destination that's going to attract a wide variety of people who are interested not just in golfing or in resorts, but the many attractions now that we have to offer.
Yeah, and I think the new destination and that the tourism master plan is starting to look more at how we build more of those destinations that are out there and more of those features. But you look at other things that are going on in the community, like 10 West, and one of the co-directors who's at the University of Arizona, Rick Ingvey, really talks about collective impact as well, and how you bring together these different groups to create a collective vision and really just invest in the community as we position ourselves as leaders here.
We talked about the openings. Dan Janes, CEO of Madden Media, with us, talked about the openings that you have at your company. What is the quality of workforce? Have you really found some great people in this community that obviously could go other places, big cities, San Francisco, Chicago, New York, but they've chosen to stay here because they do like the lifestyle?
Well, the workforce here and the talent that we have at Madden Media is absolutely amazing. I feel like every time we think that we found the last good person that's out in the market, we find 5 more every time we go out and do interviews for people. So the quality of the workforce for companies that are looking at Tucson is absolutely of the highest caliber. And we also get something that all those other places don't have. When I go to New York or Chicago or even Phoenix, it's a different environment than when you come to Tucson. Our culture is different, and we have that group of artists and storytellers and engineers and technologists that create that artistry and that fabric that makes us much more unique than what you get off the shelf in those large cities rather.
I'm very much an eclectic person. I think that's why I like Tucson and have made this my home for over 30 years. It's a very eclectic city. There are people here that have interests in so many things. And it's just, is that kind of what brought you to Tucson? You've got such an interesting background with your Army work, and then you came to the University of Arizona. What attracted you initially, Dan, to this area?
Well, what definitely attracted me was having lived in Lake Havasu City for 5 years, and I was down at Fort Huachuca.
Had a taste of the desert then.
Yeah. I did have a taste of the desert. I also married my wife, who was from Yuma, and we didn't make it quite as far as Yuma, but I definitely was not heading all the way to San Diego. And Tucson was a place we loved when we were here, and we continue to love it. And when we look at what the town was 10 years ago when we met, it's just so much better and so much more exciting now than it was then.
What's your website in case we have some listeners who would like to check out some of those job opportunities?
It's maddenmedia.com.
It's MADDEN media.com. Dan Janes, very much enjoyed talking with you. Thank you, Dan.
Thanks, Bill. Appreciate it.
And you're a big supporter of Sun Corridor, aren't you?
Very much. It's a great organization. Joe and his team are doing a fantastic job.
Our CEO interview series on the Buckmaster Show presented by Sun Corridor. Visit suncorridorinc.com for more information. We'll be right back on the Buckmaster Show as we push toward 12:45.